Okay, well, now I gave that whole intro speech to no one because Streamlabs did it again. Streamlabs does that all the time. I got to remember to start checking it. Streamlabs, you'll use it one day, just call it up to use it again the next day, and they've decided to reset all your settings on the mic. But yes, what I was saying is we're going to have a conversation about something that's really got me infuriated. I'm going to do a lot of ranting today, and I really want to get you guys' take on what this dirtbag of a journalist. Yeah, he's not a. He can claim the title journalist, but he has nothing. Nothing tells me that he's an actual journalist. What he did to this kid, and I'm glad we waited a couple days because he's had an opportunity now to at least send out an apology or an explanation, but he just keeps doubling and tripling down on it, and it's good for clicks. That's what he's after. That's what they're all after. But what I was saying is, I'm just going to give a few minutes for notifications to go out. People can find their way here. Then we'll get into the meat of the conversation, and I will either I will timestamp where today's topic begins, or I haven't seen him yet, but Big Green is usually in with us as one of our moderators, and Big Green typically timestamps them for me, and that'll be a pinned post in the comment section so you guys can find your way to it really quick. But let's see who is in with us. And Mike's here, and Connor, and Carmen, the Dreamer, Zhu Chen, Who Am I? Poppy's with us. Who Am I says, for what it's worth, judging by the title, it is the state of journalism worldwide. Here in the UK, it's a case of more of activism than journalism, is both infuriating and concerning. 100%. So it isn't relegated to just us here in the US, huh? For those of you who don't know, that's what my education was in journalism. And it was something I didn't graduate college, but I took enough courses. I was able to get a job writing for a newspaper in Roswell, New Mexico, and discovered that I hated writing for newspapers just because it was boring. Nothing against the profession itself, just wasn't what I thought it would be as a youngster. You're wide-eyed about things, and I like to write, and I thought that'd be perfect. Well, I like to write what I like to write. Didn't care for covering planning and zoning commission meetings. But all that said, I always had a lot of respect for the industry, and the industry of journalism has now become garbage. It's absolute trash. There's no reason. We're going to get into this whole topic, but there is no reason, as far as I'm concerned, for any of you guys to read anything from a mainstream media site to take it as being accurate. They've given us no reason to believe that. It's sad that the cesspool, absolute cesspool that is Twitter, is probably a better place to go for your information for one reason only. When somebody posts something there, you're going to get the opposite take in the comment section on that post. It doesn't typically take long if you do look at something from an unbiased perspective. It doesn't take long to hear the arguments on both sides and come to a determination of who's full of crap. Unlike with journalism, where they think because I wrote this under the heading of the New York Times or the LA Times or whatever, I've got this header, so that means everybody must respect what we've written. No, because what you're writing is slanted garbage, and that goes for all the major outlets. That's America now. Everybody's got a team. Everybody plays for that team. And that doesn't necessarily mean that what they write is fake news. It means it's slanted news. You get part of the story. I mean, what we're going to cover here today with what this guy did, that's just as egregious as it gets. And to attack a child or try and bring an attack upon a child to further whatever bizarre means you wish to achieve is really, really sad. Exactly, sniping is fun. Unbiased does not exist. You're right. Who am I? You're 100% right. Quasar says the issue with journalism is that they only care about the status quo. They don't want to cover the issues that really matter, like homelessness, and instead cover partisan culture war issues. That's true too. I think the only thing I can say there, and I'm not defending them, is that's been the case for a long time. I think, and it's just because they couldn't sell newspapers covering some of the things that are important. I agree with you. the unfortunate thing is this whole concept of playing for a team and writing your art, and newspaper reporters writing their articles with their personal slant on them, which goes on all the time now and was, never allowed. You were supposed to be anything but partial, and writing, omitting pertinent details about this whatever topic you're writing on because they don't suit your needs. That's all newer stuff, and that's all stuff that has destroyed the industry. Okay, we're getting everybody in here. Let me now guys, stay with me. Let me tell you this whole story. I'll tell you my feelings on it. I really want to get you guys' take. So there's this quote unquote journalist. His name, I should have it right here, is Karan or Karen. I don't know how he pronounces it. Carron. Here, I'll show him to you. Karan J. Phillips. This dude right here. The other day, he wrote an article. Now, the article he wrote was about this kid. And basically what he said was, let me remember, where's the NFL needs to speak out against the Kansas City Chiefs fan in blackface native headdress. They're doubling up on racism, he says. Are you going to say anything, Roger Goodell? He's the commissioner of the NFL. Well, accompanying that article was one picture. It was a shot similar to one of these that you see in front of you now. Can you guess which one? Yeah, it was this one right here. He took a shot of this kid from the kid's right side to where you can only see half of his face. This was at a Kansas City Chiefs game. For those of you who don't know, the Kansas City Chiefs colors are black and red. During the coverage of this game, this kid was shown a few times. He was also shown in this shot right here. A young man excited for his team, painting his face as football fans have been doing for as long as I can remember. If you're you go to a Jets game, there's a sea of green. A friend of ours just went to the Cowboys game here in Charlotte against the Panthers, and she stopped over here first so my wife could paint her face for her, and it was black with silver because that's the Cowboys colors. It's been going on forever. That's what this child did, and his parents helped him do. Any football game you go to, typically, especially college and pro, you're going to see people with their face painted in the colors of their teams. It's not anything new. But this clown, this Karen, a perfect name for him, and again, how he pronounces it, I really don't care anyway. We're calling him Karen. He only takes that shot from the side to try and make the angle that it's not only racist for him wearing a headdress, but also because he's in blackface. Now, we'll set the headdress thing aside for the moment. I think that's ridiculous as well, simply because they're called the Chiefs. The Redskins name, that was probably, it's a little sketchy to call yourself anything Skins, but Chiefs, teams have been called Chiefs or Braves because these are people that were seen as strong and powerful and leaders. So I don't see why it's insulting to some people to say, "Oh, you're mocking them." Are you mocking bears and lions when you name the team after those animals? Is it to make fun of those animals? No, it's because they're strong and powerful and send a message that we can dominate, we will beat you type thing. We all know that. So this guy posts this ridiculous article. And then as a follow-up, now let me find where I have, because people immediately now, when he posted it, of course, people immediately called him out on it and said, it's not blackface, it's team colors, dude. He's got half black, half red. That's the colors of the Chiefs. So let me find it here. So this is what this Yazoo doubled down with. He says, for the idiots in my mentions who are treating this as some harmless act because the other side of his face was painted red, I could make the argument that it makes it even worse. How the hell do you make an argument that it makes it worse? So somebody explains to you that he's painted his face the color of his team in their stadium? This isn't a kid walking along the streets who just decided to put on the Chiefs colors. He's watching a Chiefs game. And it makes it worse that he's got black and red. Now, for some reason, Karen here has since deleted this post. Why take it down? I did, however, check his timeline, and I can guarantee you that in no way has he offered anything of an apology. And he writes for Deadspin. I should point that out, too, in case you've ever thought of, probably no one ever has, but if you've ever thought of doing any type of business with Deadspin, or if you've thought of, even considered the idea of reading their articles or supporting them in any way, please reconsider. Because the fact that he hasn't been fired, or he's still a part of Deadspin, tells you that they don't give a shit. This guy, instead of, and the easiest thing to do would have been to come out and say, oh, geez, my bad. I didn't. And that's the thing. Sometimes my bad is a solid defense, or it's just truth. It's just a solid truth. He could have come out and said, okay, I didn't realize that he had the other half. I wouldn't believe it necessarily, but okay, let's give him the absolute benefit of the doubt and say he didn't know the other side of his face was painted red. Well, that was pointed out to you. Then you say, well, that makes it worse. Let's give him the absolute benefit of the doubt and say that he's, a complete moron, because you'd have to be to believe this, or to not understand this. And he really didn't understand that it was the team's colors. Even if all that were true, you understand it now. The easiest thing to do would have been to come in and, take those posts down, make another post, say, oh, sorry, that didn't turn out to be the case at all. He wasn't obviously in blackface to mock black people. His colors of his team. Take the headdress as a separate issue. But no, if you look at old Karen's page here, he doubles down on everything when you can get to it. He puts his little, look at this, he's got his little eyeball. He's got his little eyeballs looking at the Levitard show when they're talking about the stupidity of this is remarkable. This feels like the Vegas residency stage of racism policing. And it's not just the condemnation of him because of this is not a racial issue. It's not like a bunch of white people are coming out and saying he was wrong for doing it. As near as I can see, everybody's saying he was wrong for doing it. That was Sage Steele you saw in there. She's been a sports journalist for many, many years. She came out against him, and of course he's trying to mock her now because who knows why? Because he's obviously a very little, tiny man, and to admit that he was wrong is, well, that's classic narcissism. A narcissist is not going to admit that what they did is inappropriate, is wrong in any way or anything like that. They're just going to keep doubling down on it. It's also indicative of morons. So, he could take his choice. It could be one or the other. Now, I also wanted to show you guys, let me find it. Now, if this is so offensive to black people, this blackface, check this video out. Now, they do the chop in Kansas City as a rallying cry. Now, he's up there doing it. Look, you got black players on there looking up at this kid doing it back because he's one of their fans. Because the players aren't morons who are just looking to create some clicks. And they realize it's a kid out having fun, and he's supporting them. That's what that means. He's supporting them. Go out there and take care of business. And now I'm going to get to you guys' comments. We're going to talk about this more, but I want to point out one last thing. Oh, Karen here. Karen, if you wanted to take somebody on, why not go to a Raiders game? The Raiders are black and silver. Raiders fans have been painting their face, and especially when they were in Oakland, the Raiders fans were some of the roughest stuff you'll ever see in the NFL. There were some really tough people, really rough people in the Raiders stands painted up. And so I just did a search on Oakland Raiders face painted. Now you can see all kinds of people, black and white, painted with the black of the Raiders. Let's see. I don't know how. Okay, I got to move this for you so you guys can see more of it. Hold on. That guy's got, by the using the parameters he used for this kid, that guy's got blackface on, right? Looks like a white dude with blackface to me. I would say the same for this guy. There's a slew of them. You guys can go through on your own and find tons and tons of them. Why don't you? I think what Karen should do is go to the next Raiders game and go right into the crowd and call those people out. Get up in their face. I mean, come on, Karen. You're saying that this is the wrong thing to do, that it's racist to have that black paint on your face to support your team. So go into the Raiders' nest and tell those guys that they're a bunch of racists for painting their face that way. Or do you just like picking on little kids? I'm thinking that's what it is, huh? Yeah. Yeah, if you can pick on a child, that could make you feel like a really big man, huh? Calling him out. Why don't you call out the Raiders fans? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and now I'll get to the comments, but as far as I'm concerned, Karen J. Phillips represents the absolute worst of humanity. Not just journalism, humanity. I think there is no redeeming value to people like him. None. It's one thing to do something like this when you're supposed to be a journalist, and yet you'll try and turn an online mob against a small child over some issue that you created only in your own mind. But then to get called out on it and double down and triple down and so on, you're just garbage, dude. You really are. It's sad. You're a sad, pathetic, small, tiny little man. All right, let's see what everybody's saying. Maybe he's just emo, Solara says. Chaos King says, I live in the Oakland Bay Area. Then you know what I'm talking about. Those Raiders games. Oh, man. Oakland's a tough town anyway. I used to live only 30 miles from Oakland. Oakland's a rough town to begin with. Yeah, and this is Kyle says, please do, as far as going into the Raiders nest and scolding them for wearing blackface. He says, please do. I'll enjoy watching the results on YouTube. Won't we all? Oh, now that's true. Hey, Karen here likes getting clicks. That'd get him some clicks, right? I mean, what other reason would you write an article like that, as an article that is as misinformed and egregious as that is, unless you were just looking to get yourself some attention? It's the only reason to do it. So if he were to take his phone camera out and go in and confront those Raiders fans in Las Vegas at their next home game, I bet you get a bunch of clicks. I bet you'll get a lot of other things too, but I'll bet you get a bunch of clicks. Power says kid just wanted to support his team. True. I mean, and it's obvious. And again, we'll take the headdress out of it. We can discuss that at another time, because I think that's silly too, what's been going on with Native American mascots and the way they're approached. But that we'll just take that out of it, because he's saying it's doubling down because he was wearing blackface. And he knows that's not the case at all. Quasar said Karen should have apologized by saying he was trying to audition for Fox News, dying to drop the soap next to Roger Ailes. And that's the thing. All the major media outlets now, they all have a slant. We know that. They all have their own bias, and it sucks, and it's ridiculous. And that's why I say I've stopped supporting any of them. I don't watch them again when I want to get information, and I'm fully aware and fully agree that Twitter is a cesspool. X Twitter, whatever you want to call it, is a cesspool. However, because you have both sides in there arguing, it's, to me, the easiest way to figure out what the truth of a situation is. Because it doesn't take you long, no matter what the topic is. If somebody posts something inflammatory, and then people in the comments on that post take them to task for it, it typically doesn't take an awful lot of reading before you understand who is right, who is wrong. Or at least what your take is on what is right, what is wrong, and more importantly, what is fact and what is fiction. I heard that too. Oh, Jason brings up a good point. Jason said the kid's grandfather is part of an indigenous tribe. I I didn't know if that had been verified or not, but yes, I had read that he actually has Native American blood anyway. So if that is the case, and Jason says it's his grandfather, if his grandfather is part of an indigenous tribe, he has every right to wear that headdress anyway. So it becomes a complete non-issue. And again, if this was the old days, or not old days, if this was honest, true journalism, and Karen was interested in that at all, I can't imagine it would have been too hard. If you're a journalist, you're someone who can, who's the very nature of your job requires you to be able to make connections and ferret things out. Wouldn't have been too hard to find out who that kid is and give a call, make a connection online to his parents or something and ask him about it before you write the article. But again, if he were to do his due diligence and actually be a journalist, it might ruin what a great clickbait article. You can't take a chance on that, and that's all there is to it. Solara says even if he was doing blackface, he wouldn't know. He's a child. It'd literally be innocent offender, but to bully a child is such bullshit. No life behavior, nor is real racist concerns the USA. 100%. And that's another solid issue, Solaris. When you have people who do things like this that try and make a race issue where there clearly is none, all it does is it ends up weakening people's stance on real life issues with racism, because you just get that natural instinct of, oh, okay, now somebody reported on this or somebody posted about this. Is this another one of these cases where they're looking? It'd be nice if when we make an issue about anything, that it really be an issue. Sniping is Fun says, I'm sure the Cherokee side of my family has seen this stuff nowadays. I mean, older generation of my family. I'm sure they would laugh and call the offended people stupid. Well, I can tell you guys that where Braxton went to high school, went to his whole school career in Fonda, New York, their team mascot has been the Braves for decades. Well, this year they have to get rid of that. And it's because Kathy Hochul, the lunatic lunatic governor of New York, she's just, she's one of the big reasons why I live in North Carolina, has told them they have to. Now, they had, when the whole thing started to become an issue, representatives from the community had reached out to, it was the Mohawk Indian tribes or that region, to representatives, and they have quotes from the higher ups in the Mohawk region saying, basically, we don't care, it's fine. Again, you're not, it's not insulting. You're calling yourselves the Braves. Those were Native American Braves. I mean, and they were seen as athletic and strong, powerful warriors. I mean, sure, you'd want to name your sports team something like that. It was never, I don't know of anybody who ever saw it as any type of mockery. The thing that gets me, I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. You know what the Notre Dame mascot is? It's a leprechaun. And they're called the Fighting Irish. And nobody ever has an issue with that, because it's really obvious why. Because everybody realizes we're not saying that every Irish person in the world wants to go out and have a fight. Okay, most of them do. I know a lot of Irish people. I am part Irish. Sure. A lot of us like to get in a good row once in a while. But so what? And the leprechaun is the mascot. That's because it's associated with Ireland. Nobody's trying to demean Irish people. Nobody's trying to say that every Irish person is, 3'4" and defending their paw gold. Because normal people can see things for what they are if they're not looking to make an issue out of everything, which is what people like Karen do for a living. Mintman says, fought Thanos to a draw, succumbing to injuries. Tell Deborah to keep her grubby mitts off my expired Hot Pockets. Hey, listen, before you go, excuse me, Mintman, got to tell you, fighting Thanos to a draw is pretty freaking solid. I'll give you that one. That's good. And we'll pass that message along to Deborah. Don't touch the Hot Pockets. You never know when he might come back. Besides, it doesn't matter anyway. Not your hot pockets, Deborah. Jason says, in fact, Holden's grandfather, Raul Armenta, sits on the board of the, I probably pronounced this wrong, Chumash tribe in Santa Ynez, California, according to the Post Millennial. Wow. Wow. So the kid really has serious, recent Native American bloodlines. Wow. Rigid Rat says, I've seen a lot of Native Americans online upset at this whole native erasure. Some representation is better than none. Well, I can understand that. And again, the one I will say that I could understand people being a little put off by is the Washington Redskins. I don't think Redskin was ever a phrase coined to be to be complimentary, but Chiefs or Braves, that's how from the time I was a little kid, that's how you just naturally, I did anyway, you naturally assumed they were named that because, again, strength, warriors, valor, all those good things. Thomas says it's only a matter of time before the Karens go after them on behalf of the Irish. The only thing I can say there that's good about that, Thomas, is I think stuff like that, and he's talking about Notre Dame and the Fighting Irish, things like that never happen because I think you would get absolute zero support. I haven't seen, we have a lot, several Irish people that are regulars here. Let's see who, or even any of us in any of our crew in that region, in the UK region. Shoot, I don't see any of them here. If you guys are, tell me in the chat. I'd be interested to see what they think of that. Would it ever be a thought to you to be offended by that? I look at it from my perspective. I can honestly tell you anything about me that you would name a team after. Like, if you want to be the Philadelphia Fat Guys, not only would I not be offended, I could become my favorite team. Be like, yeah, that's me, bro. I'm on with that. Chicago Crackers, I'm okay with that. I don't care. The Pittsburgh Palefaces, Georgia Gingers. None of it's going to offend me. Maybe I don't get offended easily enough. I didn't know that. Richard said the Washington logo was done by a Native American. I didn't know that. Rigid Rat says because the Irish are white, you don't get internet brownie points for defending white people. And that's the thing. I would say this is definitely the case with old Karen here, is he just thought it was a great way to score some social media points, create some outrage. And as I said, that in and of itself is bad enough, especially when you profess yourself to be a journalist. Yeah, you're a journalist. You're a journalist the same way I'm a brain surgeon. But then to do something as stupid as that, and rather than offer an apology, an explanation, anything like that, you just keep doubling and tripling down. It's just looking for the attention. And then when the heat gets to be too much, you just delete your post instead of offering any type of explanation. Come on. He's just one of these people that life just needs to pass by. Just ignore him. Big Green says, but spell it Philadelphia Fat Guys, P-H-A-T, though. I see your fashionably late. Hey, Big Green, if you think of it, because I'll forget, I told everybody at the beginning of the stream, after I turned the mic on, that I would timestamp when we actually started talking about this topic. If you get a chance, you want to timestamp that for me in a comment, please, by all means, go ahead and do so, and I will pin it. C6 Psychology says, I live right outside the Navajo reservation, and they honestly don't give an F about team names. It would be like PETA complaining about sports teams. I wouldn't put anything past PETA, though. But no, I agree with you. I always saw, again, I would think a name like Braves or Chiefs is very complimentary. I think it's showing admiration. That's the way I always saw it anyway. Arkwinder says, hey, Curtis, you hear about Goku versus Superman 3? So I haven't. Goku versus Superman 3? Oh, and Death Battle gotta be? No, I haven't. Kaiser says, to be fair, even as an Irish person, the leprechaun's an interesting choice of mascot, not because it's offensive. I just wonder how that became a thing out of every other Irish myth. Maybe the luck thing? Oh, I think definitely the luck thing, Kaiser. I think so. And just, I think because, that's actually a good question. But for me, I think it's because in American folklore, as far as what we as Americans, as I think every community takes things from other communities that they enjoy. Um, and the leprechaun, I think, just caught on in our stories, you know. Um, from the time I was a little kid, you had tons of different stories about the leprechaun doing this, the leprechaun doing that. And of course, St. Patrick's Day, we celebrate that here, and the leprechaun being associated with that. I think it was just something that caught on from the earliest days of this country being put in place. So it's just always been something that, you know, we relate back to the Irish. Zuchen says a similar thing happened too recently in middle school where a kid was suspended for wearing black paint at the school's football. Oh, that was a while back, wasn't it? Yeah, and it was the same thing. That was the school colors, and especially here. But I mean, especially with this kid, I'm pointing over to my other monitor. Especially with this kid, because again, he had both team colors on. You know, so obvious you're in the Kansas City Chiefs home stadium. Excuse me, with a Chiefs jersey on, and your face painted half black, half red. And to some, that wasn't obvious why his face was painted. What I am hoping for is, I certainly hope they do. I'm hoping this kid's family sues the living hell out of Karen and Deadspin. You would think they, oh man, I hope they do. I mean, I think it would be perfectly appropriate if Karen lives the life of a pauper for the rest of his life, paying off what they're awarded in a lawsuit. I think that would be absolutely perfectly appropriate. That would be true justice. Xavier Park says no one will get offended if someone called the Japanese team samurai. It's gonna. Right, I think that's good. Yeah, another good example because as we're talking, samurai are seen as badasses. If you were to call yourselves the samurai, it would be because you wanted to project strength, power, fighting ability, and that's, you know, with Chiefs or with Braves, I believe that's what that was. With Chiefs, I believe it was, you know, that you were trying to promote a feeling of, because the Chiefs were always looked at very regally, at least the way I was brought up and everything in our reading we did about them. And I think, you know, it was wanting to have that strong, regal leader type thing. Connor says, what did that guy mean? NFL needs to take action on racism. What racism, BS? Well, that's what it is. There's nothing racist about that at all. It was just Karen taking an opportunity to try and get himself some attention with a bogus story. You know, by creating an issue in his own tiny little mind. Well, when you look online, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen the videos. People will go into heavily Mexican communities wearing a sombrero and Mexican garb and people ask Mexican people if they're offended by it, and it seems to be a resounding no. And I don't. Again, I don't understand that. If you're whatever it is, but we're all, or most of us here are big anime nerds. If somebody wanted to wear Japanese garb because they think it's attractive, it looks good, and it's something they admire, why would that be appropriation, cultural appropriation, instead of reverence? I don't understand that. If you're so impressed by the way somebody in a different community dresses or maintains themselves, whatever the case may be, that you want to imitate it, isn't imitation the sincerest form of flattery? Because there's certainly no reason to believe that people are mocking you by doing it. Why would that be your go-to? Someone's gonna walk around in their day-to-day life just trying to mock someone else instead of just thinking, hey, wow, that looks good. I gotta get me some of that. Rigid Rat says, I wonder why he wasn't saying that. Hold on. I lost it. I got right in the middle of Rigid Rats and. Sorry about that, pal. I lost the post. Xavier Park says Christ is literally the highest honor in their tribe. I hate anti-white things going on nowadays. People are literally openly racist. White people like whites. Yeah, I think that's true. I don't think this was necessarily. I don't want to say anything on behalf of Karen. I don't think this was supposed to be anti-white. It was just a pathetic attempt at him to try and stir up some clicks by trying to find anything he could portray as racist to get people to read his drivel. Sajil says, John Jones versus Tyson Fury in a fair fight, who you got? Not a boxing match. In a fight, you got to go with John Jones. Because he's got enough skills to get Tyson on the ground. Obviously, then Tyson's toast. In a boxing match, Tyson Fury. Right. I like the screen name. Dick Coxon says, I'd be pissed if that was my son he was blasting on the internet. 100%. That's why I'm hoping they sue him. Absolutely hope they sue him. Encouraging the NFL to take a stand and do something about this kid. And as I said, something that's as traditional as painting your face in the home team's colors. So why have the Raiders fans never bothered him? That's what I want to know. This Kyle says, the reason why is because all of these people that complain about cultural appropriation are actually segregationists. Kinda, yeah, because I just think that's asinine. 100%, if you were doing something, if you were dressing up as somebody else to mock them, you're doing it on stage and making fun of their mannerisms, this, that, or the other. It's still free speech. You can do it, but it makes you kind of a dick. But they get upset about things like and Halloween costumes. You want to dress up as an Indian chief for Halloween? Why would that be considered mockery? Because I just go back to my own upbringing, and we're in the Mohawk Valley. The Mohawk Indians were the tribe there. There was a large indigenous population, and we learned about them. And I can remember as a kid thinking how badass their warrior braves were and how cool their chiefs looked and everything with the headdresses and all. I mean, I never dressed up as them because there was still Batman. So as a kid, I wasn't dressed up as anything else. But if I had, it would have been because I was so impressed by them, because I thought they were cool. Of course, you want to dress up in Halloween as something you think is cool. Let's see. You might get a part in the next Peter Pan. Shutter Island says, okay, now here's another interesting comment. Okay, well, if you're not interested in researching the points about this conversation, this is not a serious discussion. Fine, you're right, and everyone else is wrong. Bye. Okay, bye. Has Shuttered Island been posting prior to that? And thinks that, so many people come in. Let me see what it is here. You should research cultural appropriation. This is actually explored at great length if you look into it. I'm not going to try to research and regurgitate it here. There are answers to the questions I'm asking. The answers are people like to be offended by things. I answered it for you. You're all set. As I said, cultural appropriation, if you're doing something, if you're taking something from someone else's culture to mock them, to outwardly mock them, okay, I can see people getting their feelings hurt by it. I can see you saying that that's an appropriation. Dressing up at Halloween or enjoying their style of dress, their style of makeup, their style of hair, whatever the case may be, admiring it and also wanting to take part in whatever it is not appropriation. Just simply, you can read as much that always kills me too on things like this, where somebody says, well, there's plenty to read out there that'll explain it to you. No, it's an opinion. This isn't math. This isn't 2 + 2 = 4. If somebody wants to have an opinion that doing those things is appropriation, my opinion is they're wrong and they're just looking for reasons to be offended. There's no facts to be gained. Let's see. At Shutter, this Kyle says, we know the points and you segregationists are wrong. Exactly. That makes me laugh. You hear people say that a lot. Now you need to go research this because this person wrote that. Yeah, that person wrote an opinion piece. So what? I think their opinion is garbage. You're not talking about a factual issue here where you can go look and see, oh, as I said, 2 + 2 does indeed equal 4. Wolverine says, Super Boss me. Let's see. Oh, that's right. Let's see if it's working. Yeah, it's been counting down, so you should be coming up. We got that Stream Boss down for any of you who are new to the right here. That's our Stream Boss. And every time somebody takes out a membership, posts a super chat, anything like that, you get a certain amount of points to try and knock down the who the current boss is. It's the King of the Hill thing. And as soon as YouTube gets it together and actually credits Wolverine's super chat, he should take over as Stream Boss. Time Wink says cultural appropriation is a weak term for weak people. And don't get me wrong, I will say this in fairness. I think cultural appropriation is something that can be done. I just think that term is applied to instances where it's entirely inaccurate. It's not appropriation to have an appreciation for things in someone else's culture. Excuse me, guys. Apparently Shuttered Island is gone. So I didn't see that person's comments quickly enough. So, or again, as is the case a lot of times, people don't really want to back up what they say. They just want to drop some silliness and go on their way. Chaos King says, give people safe places, then we'll have a generation of scared people. Yeah. Sad but true. Yeah, I agree. Oh, there you go, Wolverine. Finally kicked in. I thought it wasn't working for a while. Wolverine is Stream Boss. Yeah, I mean, safe spaces are fine when they're actually needed. If you need safe spaces because somebody said something you didn't like, then life's just going to be too hard for you anyway. Life's going to be a struggle no matter what. It's just like people wanting things to change because something that was said offended them. Who cares if you're offended? Who cares if I'm offended? As long as you're not being physically threatened, as long as there's no chance of you actually being hurt, who cares if you're threatened? So she says, oh, Shuttered Island just changed my view on abortion. Who am I says, I think so many people in the West have had it good for so long, they have to try and find ways to be offended, to find problems that need fixing, even if they do not exist. Oh, I think there's a lot of truth in that. I think we've got a lot of the perpetually offended here, and those who go out looking for reasons to be offended. I agree with you 100%. I think they've just got it too good, and they've got nothing else to do. And again, it's status for them. It's like, oh, I'm going to go score some big social points here. And now with Karen here, it was partially that, I believe, but largely, here I can generate some clicks. Look, I'm going to call this, I'm going to call this kid a racist in blackface. And he did. He achieved it. He got his attention. And to a raging narcissist, any attention is good attention. Doesn't matter if your attention is only there because the whole world's pointing out what an idiot you are. It's still attention. Jason says, I remember the U.S. being a melting pot of different cultures was a good thing, but politicians and media decided identity politics is a great way to divide us and distract us. Well, that 100%. And I think, Jason, too, a lot of it has to do with social media, and only because on social media, it's the extreme voices, whatever the case is, it can be extreme right, extreme left, extreme anything. It's the extreme voices that get amplified. We had touched on it yesterday. We were talking about with the trans community. Same thing. I have a few friends in person who are trans, and all of them that I know personally aren't activists. They're trans. They just want to go about their day-to-day life. And again, as I had mentioned yesterday, the one person that I know the best is male to female. If you get her pronouns wrong, she doesn't make a big deal out of it. So typically, from what I haven't spoken with her in some time because I moved away from New York, but I know her stance always was, she might say, I'm a she or I'm her or whatever, and when you approach it like that, most people are just like, oh shit, sorry, I apologize, and that's the end of it. Sometimes she doesn't even bother correcting because it's not worth it. People aren't being malicious, but you're only going to get clicks and you're only going to get attention if you throw a hissy fit and start screaming, "It's ma'am," and tipping stuff over in a store and everything. So, and I'm not picking on. I don't mean to pick on just trans people. It was just an example that the extremists are the one who always get the attention. Everybody, I mean, you can go to both sides. Everybody who votes for Trump isn't an ignorant hillbilly. But if you are an ignorant hillbilly and you put yourself out there and you vote for Trump, you're going to get a lot of attention. Wolverine said, oh, you got an ad? Did you, Wolverine? Wow. Thanks, YouTube. Lance Corporal Hawk said, had a post above that wouldn't let me super chat because YouTube is a sensitive labia around certain words. Ties into the combo. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can find out, Hawk. I like that, sensitive labia. Okay. Lance Corporal Hawk, where are you at? Oh, here we go. Bunch of tards only want to be offended. Imagine if these twits put half as much effort into actually trying to improve things in their immediate area. Lazy activism at its most banal. Completely agree. Completely agree. Unfortunately, I think a large part of activists are just, well, no, I don't even know if I want to say that because I know too many people who are activists, whether I believe in their cause or not, but I know too many people who are activists who are genuine and really want to, whatever it is that they are activists on behalf of, they really genuinely feel it and they want to make a change. So I don't want to lump them all into one category, but I will say this, I think a good hunk of online activists, the people who only want to do their activism, by typing on their phone, are just attention whores. And that's not to make that's not to cast dispersions on the attention whores, but some of us go about it differently. Right, exactly. Time Link said what the kid did wasn't blackface. Minstrel shows are blackface. Big difference. Right. I mean, blackface, as we know the phrase, means a Caucasian person or a non-black person painting their face black, basically to imitate black people. That doesn't mean when you want to support your team and your team's colors happen to be black that you have black face. You just have some black on your face. Big difference. Dick says, no serious journalist would have that take. True. Only someone apparently wanting to foster racial division. Correct. The fuckhead 100% caused death threats toward that child and his family. Right. And that's the thing. If you're going to try and put someone on blast on the internet, as Karen did, you can't exist in this reality and say, oh, I didn't know that they would receive backlash. I didn't know that I might be putting them in danger. Of course you are. Of course you are. I mean, I'm sure. I got to say this carefully because YouTube gets sensitive. Listen, nobody should go after anybody, including Karen, in any way, shape, or form. But I'm saying Karen is likely dealing with that same thing himself. I would imagine. I haven't followed up on him. I'm disgusted by him. But with what he's done now, he's probably getting the same type of thing, and it's still wrong. I mean, threatening somebody over it. I would, as I said, I would love to see him get sued. That's how the system works. The justice for Karen should be to get sued into oblivion, not harmed. C6 Psychology says, it reminds me more of a hunt for Bigfoot than attention seeking. You guys make it seem far too Machiavellian in nature. It was just an idiot blogger making snap judgments from a single photo. But he's not just an idiot blogger, Psychology. He's a journalist with Deadspin. I'll tell you what he says, what he has for his byline here. Senior writer at Deadspin, Pulitzer nominee, 20 and 19. NABJ award winner, 16 PABJ Journalist of the Year. He's not some random blogger. He's by his own tagline there, he is a quote unquote serious journalist. So it's not an accident that a blogger made. He writes for Deadspin, which deals in sports. Let's see. Sajil says, honestly, that's why we are in this state. Saving your energy is a thing and not wasting on mobilizing hate mobs against children and using it instead to better their own lives will go a long way. Right. And the thing of it is, as sad as it is, there are plenty of genuine injustices that you can take aim at. There are plenty of genuine and unfortunate acts of racism that go on. Why try and make something up? Because a kid's an easy target or what? I don't understand. I don't know. Or maybe he thought that he was getting the scoop. This could be an angle that he could attack somebody being a heartless racist that nobody else had done. I don't know. BJ Award winner, eh? Tomlin says. Johnny says, oh, how far the Pulitzer Prize has fallen. Now, I don't know if this is true, though, Johnny. Somebody told me that, excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. To become a Pulitzer nominee, you basically just have to, it's not much more than paying an admission or a submission. Let me see if that's true. That would be actually funny if it was. Because it didn't say he's a Pulitzer winner, nominee. How to nominate for a Pulitzer. Let's see if we can just catch how to enter. Oh, wait. 2023 Journalism Submission Guideline Requirements. Each spring, honor Best American. We prize original groundbreaking reporting, vivid writing, or appropriate multimedia storytelling. Okay. But how to submit? All entries must be submitted through Pulitzer entry site using our online entry form. Any person may submit material to the Pulitzer Prize competition, whether an editor of a news organization, an individual journalist, or a reader. To be eligible for consideration, work must derive from a U.S. newspaper, magazine, wire service, or news site that publishes regularly. I think we just discovered how he became a Pulitzer nominee. That's it, huh? Yeah, like Nacho said. Yeah, and Big Green, it's pay to win. Basically, it is. He actually put Pulitzer nominee in his byline there, or in his description on his Twitter page. Okay, that's good. The irony, Lance Corporal Hawk says, the irony is the guy who stirred this stuff up has called increased whiteness in his area a problem in the past. Closet racist, I saw that. He had a post, was it someplace in a community in Michigan, wasn't it? That he was concerned at how white it had become. Yeah. Xavier says racism used to be a thing. When you were called racist, it was a big deal. Nowadays, they're calling going to the gym racist. Like, what happened? I think Thanos was a hero all along. You're not wrong with that, too. I mean, when any word, I think when it gets used, it gets used in ways that aren't actually the definition. When you just start throwing it out at everybody, when you're using a word to just try and be hurtful rather than actually be concerned about what the word means, just like Nazi, then yes, it loses a lot of its power. Big Green says paying to get nominated for the Pulitzer. It's like paying for the Twitter check mark. Wait, did he do that too? Did he? No, I don't think he didn't pay for that. Well, because people generally pay for the. You got to remember, Big Green. They pay for the check mark because it will give you higher visibility on Twitter. He's gone a different route. He's decided to just make things up, create issues where there is none, and that's how he's going to go about getting his attention on Twitter. In other words, he's going to be a hack. Angel says he's just insecure looking for attention. Yeah. Well, it certainly seems to be, I mean, my opinion, and I'm entitled to this, it just seems to be a raging narcissist. Sajil says, Justin Trudeau does blackface as a 30-plus-year-old teacher. Apology accepted. 8-year-old kid does it. Racist piece of shit. Karen's spin logic scares me. And Big Green says there was only enough budget for the Pulitzer nomination. Yeah, there wasn't enough left in the tank to get a check mark, too. we had to pick and choose. That's pretty good. I like that. Johnny says, I bet this guy thinks he's on the level of Walter Cronkite or Hugh Downs. Yeah, again, that's basically what it is. Is a basic nobody in this field looking for some attention. And as I said, I wouldn't have even brought this up. Had this all taken place and it was pointed out to him, and he just backed off. You got to allow for people to make mistakes. And he had backed off on it and said, oh, okay, all right. I saw that shot, whatever the case may be. Whether you believe it or not, even if he had said, I only saw that side shot, I should have looked into it more. Well, you are a journalist. The first rule of journalism is to learn the truth, but that's been thrown to the curb ages ago. But then you could have at least, if he had done that, it probably would have all blown over by now. People would have lost interest. You could have come out and said, hey, you could have apologized to the kid for calling him a racist. And as far as the headdress, again, you want to be a journalist, apparently. You could have contacted that family. You could have found them out. The internet found out who they were easy enough. You could have contacted that family and asked if you wanted to go after him for the headdress. Why they thought it was okay. Maybe you would have learned that his grandfather is Native American. But again, can't get clicks if you do. How are you going to get a bunch of cheap clicks if you do due diligence? You can't be expected to do that. Let's see. So he's a modern day journalist. Yeah, pretty much, Time Link. It's sad that nowadays you have to put the word journalist in quotes because the real profession, the real art of journalism is, for the most part, long gone. Who Am I says, I love that racism only exists in the minds of those offended on behalf of other people, never the people themselves. Yeah, I've told you guys before, when I was doing stand-up for a living all those years ago, I had a lot. I always thought that stereotypes were funny. Had a lot of talking about stereotypes and race. Not necessarily in my act. It was typically crowd work, just interacting with the crowd. And in all those years, I never had anybody who was a member of the group I was talking about come up to me. I'm sure people may have been offended, but never come up and verbalize that to me and told me they were offended. It was always somebody on their behalf. Well, every time it was somebody white on behalf of somebody else, typically women. But yeah, never. Because most people have a sense of humor. If you're not attacking them, if you're attacking a stereotype of a group that they happen to belong to, most people have a real good sense of humor about it. Because they understand that difference, that you're not attacking them. You're making fun of a stereotype. Indecisive Angel says YouTube journalists have more cred than the media. Sure. Excuse me. As far as mainstream media, as my opinion, it's just absolutely useless. Again, we all know Twitter is garbage. It's just it's a cesspool of a place, but it's a better place to go for information because there again, you see both sides of whatever the issue is, and you get enough information to make your own decisions. Whereas when you go to a mainstream journalist, you're going to get their spin. Big Green says, what does being a journalist even mean these days anyway? I wrote for the school's newspaper in like 2nd or 3rd grade. Pretty sure that makes me a journalist. It does. And Big Green, well, you know, the big difference is, did you ever pay to be a Pulitzer nominee? I mean, until you send in your cash donation to be considered. I love that. I got it right in front of me. That is funny. Pulitzer nominee in 20 and 19. Ooh. Caraman says, thanks for doing these live streams. Oh, I love live streaming. Always have. I'm just trying to fit my schedule around where we can do it more often. Now, every day won't be something serious or topical like this. We'll still have the silly streams as well. But this guy just, I was going to say he infuriated me, and he did at first, and now I just kind of look at him as just like, he's just laughable. Big Green says, fuck, maybe if I work 2 or 3 more years, I can afford that sweet Pulitzer clout. Well, yeah, I mean, if you work hard, you know, keep your nose to the grindstone, shoulder to the wheel, and have, you know, and send them cash, then yes, you could be a Pulitzer nominee too. And you don't have to do all that other stuff. The nose and the shoulder. You don't have to do that. Just send in the money. Nicholas says the writer of that article about the kid is an absolute scumbag, and he has written multiple articles where he slanders individuals. I can't say that for sure either way. I mean, you know, Nicholas, you're welcome to comment that. I can't back that up because I haven't looked into everything else he's done. I was just so disgusted by him, I didn't go any farther than that. So this one instance tells me everything about the guy I need to know. But again, let's not forget, guys, Pulitzer nominee. I guess what that means is, hey, in 2019 and 2020, I made enough money to be able to afford to nominate myself, maybe? I don't know. Big Green says, but I also like my anime merch. I guess I'll have to cut food to get both. Well, that Pulitzer nomination, hey, probably, you know, get you a lot of women. I would think, right? Or dudes, whatever your preference may be. I mean, who of us wouldn't swoon at somebody who sent in money to the Pulitzer Committee to, you know, be nominated? Caraman says, do you think sometimes that your channel is underrated? Of course, I think I should have way more subscribers than Mr. Beast. No, I don't think underrated. See, actually, what I've come to learn, Caraman, the hard way, is how well you do on YouTube is out of most people's hands for the most part. Like right now, the channel, and I've come to grips with this, we have our community here, and I love our community, so I love doing this. But because this channel has been around for so long, and I'll go into all the details for you guys sometime in another stream, but we've been around for, what, a dozen years now. Excuse me. And because we've changed the format and content so many times, that's why the channel doesn't have any pull, because YouTube does things in a very strange manner. And because our videos, when they go out, don't get enough of the subscribers here to watch them, because we've changed over time, they won't promote the videos to the greater audience. When they do, they've done extremely well. Like the last one I remember was the Batman movie that I reacted to. For some reason, out of the blue, they actually showed that around. Well, then it picked up legs because people outside of our own community who are into those types of videos were all over it. But you're restricted. It's just the way they do things. It's really an odd system. Let's see. Still my favorite person on YouTube, Angel says. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I think we should, we should all think about nominating ourselves for the Pulitzer. Well, now, you could say that we could certainly make the case that live streams such as this one we're doing today are news related, right? So I should be considered. Is there a Pulitzer Prize for douchebaggery? Oh no, as much of a douche as I am, though, as we've seen in our discussions today, there's too much competition in that field. Nacho says, at least with the free money gone, the journalists on the internet are eating each other to survive. They sure are. Yeah, they are. Yep, that's why you get people doing things like, attacking children. Pulitzer Prize for Stream of the Year, yeah. All right, guys. Well, this was a fun conversation. I got to pack it up. Oh, as always, we had trouble yesterday's stream. For some reason, a YouTube reason, it was forever before it became live on the site. It was having, I don't know what their issues were. But in today's stream, too, if any of you have ideas for fun ideas for streams you want to see in the future, fun concepts, just fun stuff to do together, leave a comment in the comment section of this stream. This one, yesterday I had to stream my phone because we had a power outage. This one's coming from my PC. Hopefully that means it will go directly from here to being a live video on the channel. And just go in there and leave comment on anything like that, because I'm looking for, I've got obviously some ideas and some things we've been doing forever, but I'm always looking for new ideas, new fun things to do in a stream. So if you got any, let me know. Xavier Parks has been here since early. Papa Frank reactions. Papa Frank was just the best. But thank you guys for the conversation. This was a lot of fun. I wish that once in a while, when we have somebody with a different take on things, they would stay. It seems like every time we get somebody in one of these conversations that has a different take, they'll state their take. I'll state what my counter would be or why I disagree with them, and then we don't see them again. Just, I don't know, lack of power of conviction here, I think. But anyway, again, thanks, guys. And I'll be streaming again as soon as I possibly can. And in between now and then, I'll see you around the Goose. See you around here at Spaz White's Comedy. I'll talk to you then.